creating a design sketch and a prototype can be an important process when you're developing an e-learning course or a lesson. What sketching and prototyping allows you to do is to make the transition from an idea that you have and the sort of plans that you may be developing into an actual vision of what that plan can be. And it does it in a very quick and efficient way. So here I'm going to show you just a basic process that you might go about using for creating a design sketch and a prototype. Now, so here I'm using a digital drawing tool. However, you can also use a pencil and paper. In fact, it may be preferable to use an analog tool like pencil and paper. Now, there's a lot of different things you can use sketching and prototyping to do. So here I'm going to use just a basic interface design type sketch. So for example, if I knew I'm going to be developing a lesson or something of this nature in Desire to Learn, I know I'm going to have a screen that is roughly going to have some common elements. I know I'm going to have a navigation panel across the top. I know I'm going to have a smaller sort of mini bar across the top there. I've got several navigation links that are going, and again here the goal is not detailed, it's just to sort of sketch out what's happening. Now let's say here my goal is to actually design a home page for my lesson. So for example, I'm going to change color here and just say, alright, I'm going to have a header that I know I want to have some sort of image that's going on here. And so I've marked that out there. I know I'm going to have some sort of maybe quick links that is going to be available here. I know I'm going to use a news item for updates. So I might draw a section here that I know I'm going to prototype where my news item is going to be. And here there would be, of course, text that comes in terms of how that goes. So in this very quick example, I've sketched out in a very basic term how my course homepage might go about looking when I'm designing that aspect of the design. I'll show you another example here in just a moment. Alright, so here's another example. Let's go ahead and draw our screen here for our sample interface. And let's say in this particular example we're interested in understanding what a general overview screen might look like for a lesson that we're designing. So we know that in the overview we're going to have a section for kind of our table of contents, our main navigation sections. Again, we're saying that this is in Desire to Learn. We know we're going to have some title that's going on here. And then the section that is that we're looking at here is actually going to be the main area where the content will be displayed. And so we may have some sort of HTML page that we're working with there to be able to design. And so let's say, for example, that we know we're going to have an overview section. However, I don't just want any sort of overview. What I may do is say, you know what, I'm going to start with an advanced organizer. I'm going to have some sort of graphic that shows the main components of the lesson. So I may start with a key theme here, and I have some diagrams that are actually being drawn out there. So I have a sort of molecule looking element there that I may include, and then I may have a very brief text that no more than 3 or 4 lines that happens after it. And so this example is actually showing the key elements of the interface and how I would go about designing the overview screens. I could take and show this to my client and say, okay, we're going to have navigation across the left here, we'll have an overview title, we're going to provide an advanced organizer, there will always be a visual there, and we'll have a series of text that just basically describes the video. And so let's look at what maybe a content page might look like. Alright, if we're going to prototype a content page for our online learning sketch and prototype, let's begin kind of again designing our drawing out our interface. We have our navigation across the top here. And our content is actually going to appear. It will also have its navigation that is happening. And again, we're not showing exactly what this navigation is. We're just showing where it's going. And let's say, for example, in this particular content page, we're going to rely heavily on a video content to present. And so what we know we might do is actually present a brief description of what the video is. We know we're going to have a title, and we're going to have the description there. And then the video will actually be presented right under the description there. And so we know our video is going to be presented. And then let's say we also want to add some sort of a quiz button. Okay, so we may have, for each video, we want to allow a quiz that people can select and use there. So these will actually design what those elements are going to, what that content screen is going to look like. So as you're transitioning from, let's say, your learning environment model that you created, you can create sketches and prototypes for what each of those building blocks might look like in the environment. And this can be done in a paper, so you can actually just bring the paper and show your client. If you wanted to use some other sort of prototyping or wireframing tool, that's appropriate as well. This can be used certainly for screen layouts like what we were doing here, or it could also be used for maybe creating even handouts or visual layouts of written documents. There's a lot of different ways that you can use sketching and prototyping, but it's a key tool and an important tool to be able to be familiar with and use, because it is an efficient and quick process to bring conceptual ideas and plans, such as what you've done in the learning environment modeling process, into a very more concrete and pragmatic way of showing your clients what it will actually look like and how the learner will interact with those particular elements in the environment. So here I demonstrate just a few examples of how you can go about sketching and prototyping for your online learning lesson and course.